Originally, I had no plans at all to make a video today, but this story seems way too important to just ignore. So here I am. So there's a big controversy right now surrounding PewDiePie. Let's read about it together. Update. PewDiePie's racial slur during PlayerUnknown Battleground stream spurs Firewatch developer to file DMCA takedowns. This article's from Game Informer, by the way. A subsidiary of GameStop, everybody's favorite video game company. Sarcasm intended. So the article started off with them talking about Maker Studios dropping PewDiePie after that whole controversy with PewDiePie saying anti-Semitic jokes, so Maker Studios cut ties with PewDiePie, and he was pretty much attacked by the entire mainstream media. But apparently, PewDiePie is stirring up controversy again with a stream of him playing PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and saying, a racial slur, the N-word, during an intense moment of gameplay. I don't understand. Why is this newsworthy? Why should I care if PewDiePie says an offensive joke on his live stream? Why should anybody care, honestly? He said a derogatory word, a racial slur, and I should care because... Okay, he dropped the N-bomb. It's not like he was at a fucking cross-burning ceremony wearing white robes, because then that would be pretty newsworthy. But him saying an offensive word on a live stream? So what? Then Game Informer gives their take on this whole story. Kjellberg is an entertainer and easily one of the most powerful people in an industry undergoing a massive sea change when it comes to media and video games. However, we do not feel that this gives Kjellberg a license to say racial slurs and not be taken to task for it. Especially in an industry that still fails when it comes to handling toxic multiplayer communities. Wah, boo-hoo. By the way, Game Informer, I don't think one of the most important issues facing the industry has anything to do with toxic gaming communities. No, I actually think it's lack of integrity in video game journalism. Just look no further than Game Informer, actually. They gave Infinite Warfare a fucking 9 out of 10. A game that's universally panned by the entire community. If that's not out of touch, I don't know what out of touch is. I mean, after all, does anyone really expect a GameStop subsidiary to have honest reporting? Then they go on further, saying, we hope that given the massive audience that Kjellberg has and the number of young, impressionable men and women among them, he issues an apology and endeavor to be a better role model in the future. And of course, the translation to that sentence is... We at GameStop think that PewDiePie's young audience is too stupid to tell a difference between a joke and something serious. That's pretty much what they were saying there. But obviously, if this was the only part of the story, I wouldn't even bother covering it, because the whole controversy surrounding PewDiePie saying an offensive word, that's just nothing but tabloid bullcrap. It sounds more like something that TMZ would write about than an actual reputable news organization. What really caught my attention to this story was what happened next. After PewDiePie uttered a racial slur during a PlayerUnknown's Battleground stream, Firewatch developer Sean Vanneman came forward on Twitter with plans to take action. Vanneman and his studio, Campo Santo, are filing DMCA takedowns of any of Firewatch's content that appear in PewDiePie's videos. This DMCA takedown will also disallow Kjellberg from streaming future Campo Santo games. Wow. They went there. They actually went there. Breaking fair use law to try and make a point that your company stands against hatred and racism. Give me a break. This is not going to favor well for you guys, I'm just saying. Not only do you have no legal grounds to stand on and PewDiePie can take your ass to court, sue you, and get a shit ton of money from you, which I, in all honesty, do hope happens because you guys quite frankly deserve it. Your whole studio deserves to go bankrupt and shut down. If you guys want to mess with someone's livelihood like that, then your livelihood should be threatened as well. And as a matter of fact, you wouldn't have a livelihood at all if it weren't for PewDiePie. So you're basically biting the hand that feeds you. But anyway, let's look at his justification for doing this. I am sick of this child getting more and more chances to make money off of what we make. Except, he's the reason, at least part of the reason why your game is so successful. So if anything, you're making money off of him. But then we get this tweet. This tweet right here. He's worse than a closeted racist. He's a propagator of despicable garbage that does real damage to the culture around this industry. No. If anyone's doing damage to the culture around this industry, it's you, because you're promoting a culture in which game developers and game publishers have the power to censor YouTube based on their own personal opinion on these content creators. So PewDiePie better fight this. A, because I think this developer deserves to suffer based on their actions. And B, because if he doesn't fight back, it sets a dangerous precedent going forward that these developers and these publishers have the power to censor any YouTube creator they want for whatever reason. We cannot let this happen. Because if we do, that would be more dangerous to the gaming community than any of YouTube's recent policies. I can tell you that much. There's so many people being censored in politics right now. The last thing that I would want is for that trend to carry over to the gaming industry and the gaming community. So there are 3 things that we must do. First and most importantly, we must stand together. We must be united. That's why I am so adamantly against these platform wars, the whole PC versus console, Xbox versus PlayStation, because the people that engage themselves in these platform wars are diverting themselves from the issues that truly matter in the industry. So yeah, one thing we must do is all come together and defend our rights as consumers and as content creators. That's the first and most important thing that we must do. Secondly, we must boycott all game publishers that act against our interests. We actually have more power than they do. The problem is that most of us do not even bother to use that power. We just buy whatever crap is given to us. So any anti-consumer business practices that are going on in the industry, we actually have the power to end those practices, and we must vote with our wallets. But when it comes to game companies making false DMCA claims against YouTube creators, the solution is quite simple. If game companies wish to threaten the livelihoods of content creators, then we should threaten their livelihoods. And third, hold the media accountable. Game publishers are not the only ones profiteering from our exploitation. Today's game journalists have zero integrity whatsoever. Most of these gaming news outlets have a clear left-wing bias, which is why all these outlets gave favorable coverage to Anita Sarkeesian and not so favorable coverage to anybody in opposition to feminist indoctrination in video game culture. And it's also very rare that these publications give unfavorable coverage to games that come from major video game publishers. Don't believe me? Well, just go on Metacritic, compare the user reviews to the critic reviews, and in most cases, they're sharply different. Infinite Warfare being a great example of this. But there are countless other examples as well. But I certainly plan on making a separate video dedicated to integrity in video games journalism because it's a very interesting topic. But yeah, those are the 3 things that we must do if we really want things to change in the industry. But before I go, there's one more tweet that Mr. Vanneman wrote that I feel like I need to address. And it reads as follows. Freedom of speech is freedom of prosecution. His stream is not commentary. It is ad growth for his brand. Our game on his channel equals endorsement. Yeah, does anyone remember that Geico commercial from a few years ago when it was a group of old ladies trying to figure out how Facebook works, and one of the old ladies was like actually putting pictures on her wall? Like she was actually putting real pictures on her actual wall in her house. So then the other old lady was like, no, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Yeah, that can definitely be applied here in this instance when he says that our game on his channel equals endorsement. No, it doesn't. It just means that he likes your game and he decided to play it. It literally means nothing else. And for someone who's so worried about their company's public image, he just made a really bad PR move by going after the biggest YouTuber of all time. 57 million subscribers. More people watch his videos than have ever played your game. And I can guarantee you, much less people are going to play your next game than they would if this bullshit never even happened. If you didn't decide to breach fair use, if you didn't decide to make a false DMCA claim against a YouTuber. And yeah, sure, Sega's gotten away with it, and Nintendo's gotten away with it, but you're no Sega, and you're certainly no Nintendo. You are fighting a battle that you cannot win, and that you shouldn't win, because you don't even have the moral high ground like you think you do. Yeah, you're right when you say that freedom of speech is freedom of prosecution, meaning that if you speak your mind, that you can be held accountable and should be held accountable for everything that you say. But breaking the law like you did should not be anybody's solution to holding people accountable for their speech. And to wrap things up, Sean Vanneman, you're a piece of shit. And people like you, they get what's coming to them sooner or later.